everyone, welcome to a poker vlog with a bit of a difference. Poker with kids.
Fuck it, let's go. Don't tease me. Let's play some fucking cards. He beat me. Straight up. Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Now, just heading home from a short session at Crown. This is one I managed to sneak in between work and a meeting. Had a couple of hours to spare. Work was not too far from the city, so had a couple of hours to kill and thought I'd drop into Crown, and actually worked out fairly nicely for me. Only a few real hands to report on. They're not, to be honest, they're not actually that interesting. I basically just ran very well, and people were nice enough to either bluff off chips or just pay me off. And this hand, I'm in the cutoff. There's two players who limp in front of me, and I looked at an ace-7 of clubs and decided to raise it up to $13. Both blinds and both limpers decided to call, and the flop's pretty handy for my hand. It's ace king 7 with two diamonds. It checks to me, and I bet $20, so obviously with two pair I'm happy to build a pot. Folds around to the hijack, who calls. The turn is an offsuit 6. Again, he checks to me. This time I bet $40 and he calls, and there is an offsuit deuce. So again, two pair happy to continue barreling. I think he has around 80 behind, but I decided to bet 60, and he pretty quickly folded, so I'm guessing he probably had a diamond draw. So not a bad hand to get the session going. Next hand, I'm under the gun, look down at pocket kings, raise it up to $12, managed to get 5 callers, and again a pretty nice flop for me, king jack 6. I decided to lead out for 20, get 1 caller. Turn is an 8. And this time I bet 40 and my opponent folds. So not a lot to the hand, but always good to get a big pair flop top set and make sure it holds. This final hand's probably the most interesting of the session, and that'll give you a bit of an idea of how the session went in terms of being relatively straightforward, not many difficult spots that I found myself in. Under the gun +1, and under the gun +2 are all limped in front of me for $3. And I looked down at pocket 9s. With a middling pair, this is one I'm not sure quite what the best play is. I think obviously with a big pair, put in a raise, small pair, join the limping train. This time I decided to call for $3. Not sure if it's the best play, and to be honest, I really didn't have much of a plan for the hand in terms of how to play it based on what could happen in the future, later pre-flop or even any kind of future street planning. Followed around to the cutoff, who put in a raise and made it $23. The big blind and all the other limpers decided to call, so I think now it's pretty clear that I'm happy to call, although we do have a really bloated pot already, over $100 pre-flop. The flop came down 10-10-2, and it checked to me, and this is one spot where I wasn't sure whether I should check or put out a bet. I think the natural tendency is probably to check to the raiser, which is what I ended up doing, but I'm not sure if I could have maybe built a pot with what could very well be the best hand. Although having said that, at the moment I'm really guessing as to whether my 9s are the best hand or not. As it turned out, the pre-flop raiser, the cutoff, decided to check, and the turn brought a jack. Again, action check to me. I figure that the jack's the type of card that could be in the pre-flop raiser's range, so again I decided to check, probably with the intention of just check folding. But again, the Treadwell Brazier again decides to check back the turn. And the Rivers card I've been looking for, it's a 9. And the player that was under the gun +1 decides to shove for his remaining $70 odd. It folds to me. I take a little bit of time hoping to induce the other player to call. I decide to obviously make the call. Everybody else folds, and the opponent basically says, good call. Most of the cards, although, do turn over the pocket 9s to show the winning hand. Something that's useful for poker players away from the tables is studying poker. And given my limited time, both in terms of the amount of time I can have playing poker, as well as the limited time I have away from the tables, I've decided to take a bit of a studying light program, as it were. So in some of my spare time, I've been starting to read some of the mini poker books I have at home. And one that I recently finished was this one, Pass the Trigger, which is Joe Hashem's biography.
Ganneman raises it to 700,000. Hashem was 7-3 offsuit. Flop. A flop is 4, 5, 6. Hashem flopped a straight. It's an ace.
That's a disaster card for Ganneman.
The best he can hope for is a chop pot.
2 million.
Hashem is in a great position. He'll bet $2 million. He cannot lose this hand.
You having fun?
My God, it's a ball.
Still all being friendly. All right, stop. I'm all in.
Joseph Hashem is going to try to put Ganneman all in. Hashem with the straight.
I'm all in.
And Ganneman bites. Joseph Hashem has a straight and a title in the waiting. And now our river card. It's a 4, and there you have it. Joseph Hashem stands alone. The man from down under has reached the pinnacle of poker and will forever be known as a 2005 world champion.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Pass the sugar.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Joseph Hashem is poker's world champion. Let the party begin down under.
$1 million changes my life, let alone 7.5. Everything's going to change.
His wife gave him permission to play in a poker tournament halfway around the world while she took care of their 4 children. Well, wake up the kids and wake up Australia. Your boy's coming home a multi-millionaire.
Apparently Australia has gone mad.
It's an interesting read. It's split up into 3 parts. The first part takes up basically the first half of the book, which goes through his alternates chapters between his progress through the 2005 World Series main event, which he won, and his kind of background and how he got to the point he does in life with poker. So his various things that he'd done work-wise before poker, his family life, that sort of thing. So interesting kind of read. Fairly light in terms of chapter length. So for someone like me who isn't able to necessarily devote an hour to a solid reading chunk, good to be able to read a chapter in 5 to 15 minutes and just being able to pick it up and put it back down as you wish. The second part of the book is something that Hashem really seems to be focused on, the idea of validation, and sort of getting this sort of monkey off his back that the World Series win wasn't just a bit of a fluke. So that part takes up about a quarter of the book, details sort of his run from winning the main event through to the following year when he won the WPT 5 Diamond Classic at the Bellagio. And he sees that as the sort of the big tournament that put him up there and sort of said, look, I'm not just a flash in the pan that won the World Series. I'm a real professional poker player who deserves to be, considered one of the top pros in the world. Also, again, interspersing his life since winning the main event. And the final section is sort of how he deals with the fame and publicity that come with the title, as he puts it, of being the world champion of poker. And something it's interesting in terms of how he sort of puts it, because if you think about recent world champions, and in fact, pretty much any World Series of Poker champion since Joe Hasham starting with Jamie Gold in 2006, they haven't really taken on that, the idea that Hasham does of being an ambassador for poker and being someone that has to go around and promote poker and do a variety of things to try and put poker in a more positive light or expose it to a wider audience. Whereas the more recent world champions seems to have just done their thing, won their money, and then either just continued doing what they were doing, or in some cases have done, thank you very much, that's my run in poker done, thanks for the money, and nice knowing you, I'll go off and do other pursuits. So very interesting. Joe Hasham in that sense is somewhat of an old school character when you think about the early days of the poker boom with Chris Moneymaker, Greg Raymer as the two sort of world champions in 03 and 04. They were very much the face of poker, with Moneymaker in particular doing a lot of promotional work and following that up the next year, Greg Raymer. So Hasham kind of continued that sort of style of being the ambassadorial world champion, which is something that is those that have come after him haven't really done. But as I said, interesting read. It's been sitting on my bookshelf for quite a while. I think I probably purchased it, probably my guess would be late 2000. So it's probably been sitting on the bookshelf for close to 10 years. Thought it's finally time to get around to reading it. And interesting read. So if you're able to find it, I don't know if it's probably not quite as easy to find as it was a few years back, but if you're able to find a copy, not obviously the most theoretical or detailed. There's a little bit of poker content, not a great deal of poker content. But yeah, a nice light read. Interesting to get a bit of a background story to Joe Hasham and who he is and how he sort of sees poker being part of his life and poker generally. So that was one that I've just recently finished. One that I'll get to probably sometime in a few vlogs time that I just started reading. I know I had actually started reading it when I actually first got it. This one, Deal Me In, which is a similar kind of light, almost autobiographical one in this sense that this takes 20 pros and basically tells their story of how they got involved in poker and how they progressed through. So just starting off with some light poker-related reading away from the tables, but hopefully that'll keep my interest and give me a bit more of a history lesson on some of the famous faces and people in the world of poker. That's going to wrap up episode 4 of the vlog. Bit of a shorter one this time, without quite as much poker content as I've had in the past. Again, hopefully I'm looking to organise a home game sometime in the not too distant future. Also try and upload some other things related to poker, even if I don't get some time on the tables, but I'll see how we go with that and see how things go. But thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe and like and all that sort of stuff, that'd be fantastic. But again, thanks for watching.